happens next? Iran vowed to respond, but countries like Iran always say that. What Tehran should do is take note the U.S. did not strike refineries, did not strike major cities, all of which could change depending on what Iran does next. Dan Crenshaw is a former Navy SEAL who serves on House Intel and joins us now. Welcome, Congressman. Thank you for your service to our country. Do we know how degraded Iran's nuclear capacity is after these strikes?
I think we're still assessing that. It looks like they're fairly degraded. So you know as well as I do as far as what the open reporting is. I can't say much more than that. Obviously, people need to understand maybe why this happened. This is somewhat inevitable. So, Israel is fully committed to this, and there's talk of when and how Iran might come to the table. I'm not sure there's a table anymore because I don't see a situation where Israel will stop taking on the government and military targets until there's an actual regime fall and the Iranian people decide for themselves what their future would be. And so but the one thing the Israelis could not do with their weaponry was reach the two in particular nuclear sites deep underground. It's the necessity of these bunker busters that only the United States has. It looks to me like they did their job pretty well. When you lay 14 of those down, it's probably going to do its job.
All right, Congressman, Iran, you know this. Some of our viewers may also. Iran is 75 times larger than the nation of Israel. So they retaliated a little bit. Maybe that was token retaliation. Do you expect more of a response? And what do you make of Russia's offer to supply nuclear weapons to Iran in the aftermath of what President Trump just did?
And I find that hard to believe. I think that's your typical bluster from Putin. Everybody's been wondering about World War III because of our support for Ukraine and the war against Russia. And those people have been wrong every single day for just over 3 years. So I think they'd be wrong to expect it here as well. As far as munitions, your typical munitions that you're seeing hit Israel from Iran, they're going to run out eventually. They still have some left, but the Israelis, wave after wave, are targeting those munitions themselves. So it's unclear how much Iran really has and how many places and how many launch sites they actually have to keep up the fight. And again, I don't see a scenario where Israel stops. It's really a matter of superior weaponry and superior air support, which Israel owns the skies at this point. It doesn't matter how many more people Iran has. And by the way, those people don't want to fight for that regime. They want their freedom. And we've seen that time and time again in these uprisings. It's also of note, Israel has also taken targets at the domestic services in Iran, the same domestic services that are, the religious police, the kind of people who beat down their own citizens. They bomb those headquarters as well. So I think there's an obvious strategy here, and it's setting the stage for the Iranian people to hopefully be free and take control of their own future. And I think the future they want is a lot closer to what we would want. An open society that trades and is successful and prosperous and safe, as opposed to what this regime has offered it.
Congressman, there are a few people I know that know the cost of war better than you do. So you mentioned Ukraine. There is a pro-Putin wing within the party. There were two notable people, one a podcaster, one a former television show host, who literally were begging President Trump to let Israel go it alone. You made the military argument for why Israel needed our help, but is there not also a moral argument that strong nations should help those that are under attack?
There's certainly always a moral argument, but those kind of people don't care about moral arguments, Trey. So the argument you could make to them, which I think is valid, is a self-defense one. You have to remind everyone, Israel's not the great Satan. The great Satan is the United States. The United States has always been the true target of Iran. Their ballistic missile program has always had the intent of growing so that it can eventually reach the United States. They're enriching their uranium to weapons grade levels for a good reason, to beat the great Satan. Israel is the thing in the way. What those people get wrong, and Tucker, like you mentioned, and I question their motives also, and what's causing these very strange opinions to be had. But put that aside for a second. What they don't truly understand, they think we're the ones in front of Israel, right? They think we're the ones stopping Iran from destroying Israel. It's the other way around. Israel is the first speed bump between us and Iran. That's always been the case. And so that's why it's always been in our mutual interest to support Israel, let them take this on the way they are, and move in like President Trump did, very boldly, by the way. I just have to say, what a difficult decision, more difficult than most presidents in our lifetime, in our century, that he had to make. It was a tough call and a bold one, but the reasoning is far closer to self-defense and pure self-interest than it is to just taking the moral high ground. And by the way, President Trump does have the moral high ground because he gave Iranians 60 days to come to get out of it. I mean, he went back, he begged for negotiation. How the Israelis say, hey, hold off, let us try to talk to these people, and they didn't want to do it. And so now they have the consequences they have.
All right, Congressman, you're a man of history. We have talked about it in the past. For those who may have forgotten, give us just a brief, cursory review of all the things Iran has done to the United States, not to Israel, but done to the United States, beginning with the overthrow of the Shah and taking our embassy hostage.
Well, there's that, of course. I mean, like most notably, I think we've lost so many members of the military in Iraq because of Iranian-produced weapons, specifically these projectile forces that are able to go through explosives that are able to penetrate even our best armor. Killed a lot of people there. They provide IEDs to the Taliban in Afghanistan as well. Some of the more advanced type of IEDs and weaponry. Hezbollah is a global operation. Now, Hezbollah is in Lebanon, but of course it's funded and supported and trained by the Iranians. It's a global operation. IRGC is a global operation. They've planned assassination attempts on President Trump, on Mike Pompeo, on others. The list goes on and on and on. There's evidence of Hezbollah trying to work with cartels in Mexico as well. Where do we even end the list? Again, we're the great Satan. Their entire foreign policy has always been to thwart anything good for the United States. It's to say that we can just stay out of this and be for peace is such a naive view that I truly don't understand why people take it. But I mean, who knows?
Dan Crenshaw making the case for self-defense. You would have made a good lawyer, Dan, in another lifetime, but I'm grateful for your service to our country. I don't mean to demote you, but you would have made a good lawyer. Thank you for joining us on a historic Sunday night. You take care.
Thanks, Trey.